I believe that the Electoral College is unjust and should be abolished. I believe that the Electoral College is DEI for the Republican Party, where Hillary Clinton won the popular vote but lost the presidency because of the Electoral College, because it empowers rural states more by giving them the electoral votes.
This is going to be a very, very intense one, folks, so buckle up. You will experience what happens when a student steps up to challenge Charlie Kirk in a fiery debate about electoral college. She argues that the system favors Republicans by giving disproportionate power to rural states, pointing out that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote but still lost the presidency to Donald Trump. It's a bold claim. Let's dive into the clash of ideas and see how it all plays out.
Try to talk right into the mic, please.
Alrighty. Hey Charlie, how's your tea? First of all.
My tea?
Yes.
It's good, thank you.
All right. So, first of all, I'd like to ask why you're spending your time debating college students instead of people who have similar media training or experience to you. I mean,
It's already been asked. Are you a voter?
I am.
Yeah, we're talking to voters in the key state of Pennsylvania. Should we not do that?
I mean, I'm fine with you doing that. It just seems a little bit asymmetric. If
Yeah,
you don't
we want to win the election, right? So, do a lot of conservatives come to this campus?
Not really.
Well, that's why we're here. Okay?
All right.
Yes. Disagreements, you can work your way up. Yes. Wow, look at all those disagreements.
Finally,
I know, it takes a while takes a couple hours, yeah.
Hello, I have a disagreement with you guys. I believe that the Electoral College is unjust and should be abolished. And
okay,
Mr.
so-
Ramaswamy, I believe, since you ran for president, I would like to hear from you first.
Sure. So, I think this is a common. I know this is near and dear to Charlie's heart. Oh, okay. Let's start with that. Well, I think that is a great question to ask, Charlie. I like that. Let's start with that, so make sure I'm responding to the question. What is the definition of justice?
Okay, so we talk a lot about like DEI programs and that sort of thing, and people being, unjustly put into these like positions. I believe that the Electoral College is DEI for the Republican Party, where Hillary Clinton won the popular vote but lost the presidency because of the Electoral College, because it empowers rural states more by giving them the electoral votes.
I think this is going to be a very interesting discussion, so make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because you don't want to miss moments like these ever again, I assure you. So we won't definitely talk about this dude we saw right now, because he got instantly violated, but that girl makes a very bold claim saying that electoral college is practically affirmative action for the Republican states. That's definitely a very, in my opinion, polarizing way to frame it, but I can see what she's getting at. It's about how smaller states are getting disproportionate representation. It's a point, actually worth raising, especially when you look at the past elections where the popular vote didn't match the electoral outcome. But let's hear what Vivek and Charlie hash out.
Needs to exist.
Okay, so because that's the whole principle, is that we don't just live in a direct democracy, we live in a constitutional republic, and that means a few things. First is it means that we are really a union of states. We're not just a random assemblage of geographic land masses called states that we call a union. That means something where part of it is direct representative democracy, but part of it is also making sure that states actually have a relative say in the process. That's how you get the Senate versus the House to balance it out. Same thing with respect to the history of the Electoral College. This is about making sure that we're being thoughtful about the step of who's actually the U.S. president while channeling the democratic will through the manner enshrined in our Constitution. And here's the biggest difference between a republic and a democracy. This is relevant to a lot of young people, is in a constitutional republic, it's not just about what you get. Right? In a democracy, you get a vote. You think about what does it mean to be a citizen, about what you get. In a constitutional republic, it's also about what you give. It's about your civic duty to your country. And I think that part of what our founding fathers envisioned is we had voters who actually knew something about their country. Every legal immigrant who comes to this country has to pass a civics test before they can vote. Well, frankly, the sad truth is most voters would fail that if they took it today. That would make our founding fathers roll over in their graves. And so I think that we got to get beyond this idea that we're some kind of direct democracy. We're actually a republic where people have responsibilities.
Now Vivek is stepping in, and I've got to say he nails it when he explains the brilliance of constitutional republic versus a direct democracy. The union of states, not just random landmasses, is what makes America exceptional. But let's be real, the students' critique about Wyoming's influence feels like a will swipe at all of the Republicans. Here's the truth, the Electoral College is protecting the voices of the heartland from being drowned out by liberal coastal elites. And that's for sure not a flaw, it's more of a feature, at least I think that way. So let's continue.
And states actually have some level of distributed say to make sure that two cities in New York and California don't govern who actually leads the entire United States of America.
And I will push back. Look at the current battleground states. The blackest state in the country is getting a lot of attention because of the Electoral College, Georgia. One of the most black states in the country, North Carolina, is getting a lot of attention.
Atlanta is one of the biggest metro areas in the country. It would get attention whether or not they had the 16 Electoral College votes.
But
the Republican Party has a cushion. They have states like Wyoming that nobody lives in.
Let's be
It's
consistent.
3 electoral votes.
First of all, 700,000 Americans live there, so let's not talk down to our fellow citizens.
Okay, but why does their vote, right? Why does their vote go farther than mine, who's from Texas?
Hold on a second. Rhode Island and Hawaii are small, and that helps Democrats, right?
Yeah, I think that's bad too.
Okay, got it. But it doesn't just help Republicans. What it does is it requires candidates, as Vivek aptly put it, to have a preference on states. We are not a national project first and foremost. We are a collection of sovereign states that come together as a national project. And the founders wanted a decentralized way of doing elections. And I think it's actually a really good thing that this state, which is incredibly diverse, very difficult to be able to win, will determine the entire election.
Charlie jumps in here with the battleground states argument, and he's absolutely right with what he's saying. The Electoral College forces candidates to engage with real Americans in diverse areas, not just pander to liberal strongholds. That's a win for representation and fairness for sure, but let's address the counter about Wyoming versus Texas, and sure, smaller states get way more influence per vote, but isn't that the whole point? It ensures that the voices of hardworking Americans in places like Wyoming aren't just crushed by the overwhelming numbers in urban liberal hubs. And that's how you protect the backbone of this country, and I must say these debates are quite lit.
Picture of the country, and you guys get a lot of attention because of it. Now you say in Texas, well, in Texas it actually might become a battleground state one day. The thing about the Electoral College is that certain battleground states rise and certain fall. Ohio used to be a battleground state, now Arizona's a battleground state. Georgia never used to be a battleground state, now it is. Florida used to be. And so what the Electoral College does is it forces candidates to go into places outside of the coastal corridor and win over voters of the people that actually make the country work, such as Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Michigan.
It doesn't answer the question, though, why somebody's vote in somewhere like Wyoming, which has 3 votes for 70,000 people, versus Texas's 700,000 versus Texas's 38 for 30 million. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's
to me.
actually proportional, though, because
No, it's
it
not.
is proportional. Because okay, then would you get rid of Wyoming as statehood to be consistent? Should Wyoming exist as a state?
Absolutely.
Well, then,
But their vote should be the same as mine.
So I got a solution to this, and it's
Abolish
not
the Electoral College.
Well, it's not the one that I made. It's the solution that our founding fathers made, which is that if we don't like that, the United States of America, we got a way to change it.
Yeah.
It's a constitutional amendment. So
you agree with me?
I don't agree with you because
No,
I wouldn't
of
vote
course
for
not.
it. But if your view is that this is anti-democratic,
I love my
there's
country.
a way to change
I
it.
agree.
Where if 3/4 of people in this country wanted to change it, that would change in an instant.
And now Vivek shifts gears, hammering home the importance of civic responsibility and an educated electorate. He's absolutely right. If more voters truly understood how the system works, there'd be fewer calls to tear it down. That said, while the system is brilliantly designed, it's not above scrutiny. But let's be real, the student's critique of fairness comes off as wanting to rewrite the rules because her side she supports so badly didn't win. Still, credit where it's due, she's holding her ground in a very, very tough debate, and that's worth some respect at the very least.
There's a mechanism to go through it. So just like the gentleman earlier who was founding a movement, there could be a movement that says we want a constitutional amendment to
There is
abolish the
one.
Electoral College, but they haven't managed to convince enough people in this country that it's worth it. And the reason why is there was actually a justification for it. Turns out that most people, when they think about it, actually do land where Charlie and I do on a popular vote basis across the country. That wouldn't be a weighted vote, by the way. So you're talking about actually overturning it through the constitutional amendment, then Wyoming doesn't actually get more votes. You're talking about just 3/4 of the overall states and 3/4 of the vote in Congress, which is proportional representation. So there's a way to fix it that our founding fathers, I mean, these guys were geniuses. They had built that into the system.
I agree. I love my country. I'm a patriot.
And if you convince your citizens, then maybe that will be true 50 years
but
from
we
now.
don't
But it's never
believe
happened.
that majoritarian ways of doing elections is the best way. We think
Why
that,
not?
Well, because we're not an up or down majoritarian democracy. We're a decentralized country of states first. And I'll keep on saying that sovereign states matter. That's what makes us different than France and Germany and Belgium and the United Kingdom, is that we're a bottom-up form of government, not a top-down form of
Germany
government.
also has strong state governments.
Not as much. Actually, during COVID, when edicts were done in Germany, it was straight from the centralized government. No, it's like they did not have provinces. Like Bavaria did not have a different COVID policy than, Berlin. They didn't have, in America, COVID was a great example of why we have decentralized states. States were able to make different decisions. California lost their
I
mind.
don't disagree.
Charlie delivers a very strong visual example here, and I like this one very much because the map is mostly red with just a few blue dots controlling the popular vote, and it's a powerful case for the Electoral College showing exactly why the system exists. Without it, we'd be letting a handful of coastal elites dictate the direction of an entire country, and that's not what America is about. Her frustration is understandable, but let's be honest, it's rooted in wanting to sideline the voices of smaller states, which are just as vital to the Union as the larger ones.
Agree with you on
No,
this.
no,
though.
of
I
course.
love our country.
No.
What I'm saying is, you haven't addressed why somebody in Wyoming should matter more on the
Well, but-
electoral college basis than me in Texas. It makes no sense.
I reject the framing.
One person, one vote.
No, that's not it's never been that way, though. Not in presidential elections.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. One person, one vote is majoritarian democracy.
Okay.
Instead, it's the states get appropriated.
But you haven't told me why that's better. You've told me that it is the way it is.
I'm attempting to. As I said, we're a bottom-up government, not a top-down government. It decentralizes power. It also requires leaders, as I've said, to hear the needs, wants, and concerns. We're not going to agree here, and that's fine. But
So I'll give you an image. Unfortunately, I can't show you the image like right now, but you can look it up. All right. Somebody made this image of what the electoral map could look like if the Electoral College was abolished. You would have two blue dots, one around New York and one around the west coast of California. The entire rest of the map of the United States of America.
I'm from Texas. I can assure
would be
you there
red.
would be several blue dots there.
But I'm saying that in theory, you could have an election where it would just be those two blue blots and the rest of the entire map is red, and you would still have an outcome where you would have a blue president of the United States.
Yes.
And it could be in
Land
reverse
doesn't
too.
vote.
And so the answer is that would feel unjust for a lot of those other states that deserve to actually be respected as states in the Union. We have the Senate and the House for the same reason that we have the Electoral College. We need to balance the way in which those sovereign states are still a part of the Union. I know you may not find that persuasive. That's the reason. But if you convince other people across the country.
Vivek brings it home with the constitutional amendment route, which sounds great in theory, but let's get real. Getting 3/4 of states to agree on anything is nearly impossible. This is where the debate also really exposes the divide between preserving our foundational principles and caving to modern day complaints. The student has a point about how tough it is to change the system, but that's exactly why we need to respect the traditions that have made America the great country it now is. And just because something's hard to change doesn't mean it should be tossed aside by those who want to rewrite the rules for their own agenda. The student certainly brought up some powerful and strong arguments about fairness, but Charlie and Vivek came out with powerful counter-arguments that highlight the importance of preserving our system and the constitutional republic our founders have designed. They made it clear that it just isn't about popularity, it's more about protecting the rights of all states and ensuring that every part of the country is truly heard. And I totally agree with this take. This debate just shows how much we need to value our tradition and resist the push of tearing it all down for the sake of our convenience. So what do you guys think? Should we stick with the Electoral College to protect the voice of every state, or should we just go full-on direct democracy? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and see you in another one.